Deputy Adams.
We're magad las can call you Taoiseach. He should takeist fear topic talk. Ogumsa matter lesh and order and you we manra ata fos and drug stoit shaw. It's my question's got to do with the government's decision to go ahead with the redress scheme for the victims of symphysiotomy. And I want to ask you when will the government announce further details about this scheme. There has, in my view, been an unnecessary and very inexcusable delay when you consider that many of these victims are elderly, some are in poor health, and I know from meeting them myself in my own constituency that many of them are very, very frustrated and their families are very upset now. Some victims have welcomed the redress scheme, but many others are angry and unhappy. And you may know that the ICCL have strongly backed them, particularly around the government's refusal to lift the statute of limitations and allow victims, if they wish, to choose whether they want to go to court or to choose what course of action they wish to take in order to get closure. And the government has denied victims who wish to go down the legal route their day in court. We acknowledge, we've all said this is a barbaric practice, but these women have been denied, if they wish, their entitlement to take the legal route. So Tashin Mawaral Hain go han mi ceart agus tá ceart éignam an rá seo a gas a dheanú sna cuairteanna má bhfuil sin le dhí orthu. So Taoiseach, will your officials meet with the victims of symphysiotomy to discuss these concerns? And my second question has got to do with the programme for government commitment, and I quote, to support the full implementation of the Good Friday Agreement and the St Andrews Agreement. And you will know, in fact, the government have announced this, that talks are due to start, and I very much welcome that, and I welcome the interest shown by the US administration in this. I was, as you were, in the States last week and talked to many opinion makers there about the need for this to happen. But can the Taoiseach confirm that the Irish government will raise the British government's failure and the failure of others to implement key aspects of the agreement? The government here is co-equal guarantor. So issues like Act na Gaeilge, the lack of a Bill of Rights, the lack of an inquiry into Pat Finucane's killing, the lack of a North-South consultative forum, and there are numerous other issues. And you'll also be aware that there is an anti-agreement axis, which is about trying to hollow out the provisions of the agreements and to undermine the institutions. So would the Taoiseach make it clear that the planned talks must take place free from threat and without precondition, that it should be time-bound and commence as quickly as possible? And will the government here act as defenders and guarantors, as champions for progress in the North, and hold the British government to account for their failure to implement key aspects of the agreement?
These are two important questions you've raised. You asked, would officials meet with the survivors of symphysiotomy? Well, I can confirm to you that the Minister himself, Minister Varadkar, actually met with the three support groups representing women who've had a symphysiotomy. Two of those groups, Patient Focus and the Survivors of Symphysiotomy Limited, have welcomed the establishment of the ex gratia payment scheme. The other group, the third group, Survivors of Symphysiotomy, have advised women to reject the scheme. So the purpose of the Minister's meeting with them was twofold. Firstly, he wanted to check the appropriate medical services and health services, and that medical cards are being provided to these women. Secondly, while he wished to hear the views of the support groups in order to help to shape the parameters of the ex gratia scheme, he also wished to confirm to them that the scheme would be put in place as quickly as possible. He was pleased to hear that, apart from some delays, there was a good response to service needs in one geographical area. The HSE, apart from some delays in one area, the service was being provided quickly. The HSE providing prompt and appropriate services, and the HSE representative at the meetings undertook to address the delay that they raised specifically quickly. Obviously, many of these women are moving on in terms of age, and whether to go through an adversarial, controversial, very difficult and stressful court position could take a very long time. So the government agreed the scheme last July. The Minister, responding to the concern of the group, has agreed that an independent assessor will administer the schemes rather than a state claims agency. As you know, it will be simple, straightforward and non-adversarial. Awards of 50, 100 or 150,000 to women who provide evidence that they had a surgical symphysiotomy. The amount of the award will depend upon the assessment of the effects of the symphysiotomy had on each of these women. For women with no medical records, medical assessments will of course be arranged. The Minister also stressed that he planned to make arrangements for responding to individual queries from women or from family members, so that the scheme would be as user-friendly as possible. He also clarified that it is not an obligation on women involved to waive their right to go to court as a precondition of joining the scheme. Previous Minister Riley had made that arrangement. Women may opt out of the scheme at any stage in the process up to the time of accepting their rewards. But if they do accept an award, they'll have to sign a waiver to discontinue any legal proceedings against the party arising out of that. So let me assure you, Deputy Adams, that women will have their applications dealt with speedily. It's a sensitive issue. They will receive the payments within a number of months. It's a genuine effort to recognise their suffering and what they went through, the difficulties and scars they've had to bear since, and to try to assist them in dealing with a very sad and traumatic and difficult chapter in their lives. So I hope that confirmation will bring some comfort to them. In respect of the other matter you raised, the Good Friday Agreement and the talks beginning, you and I discussed this before. I'm happy that we've come to a position where the Irish government and the British government, as co-guarantors of the agreement, can put in place a position now where we can involve governments in hopefully bringing a conclusion to some of these matters. Minister Flanagan has already been in regular contact with Secretary of State Villiers. I myself spoke to President Clinton last week in New York, as I'm sure you did yourself, about the necessity here. Yes, Acht na Gaeilge, yes, the Bill of Rights, all of these matters can raise the Finucane murder. I think, Deputy Adams, we need a serious analysis here. Like, if you look at the issues of the past, and I understand another remains were discovered this morning, which I think is very welcome and hopefully will bring consolation and closure to whatever family is involved. But when I look at the situation that we discussed before, where murders on all sides and deaths occurred, like, with the new systems that are in place, with the PSNI and the judicial system and all of the rest of it, moving forward, which is where we want to be, if you can't deal with these sensitive issues of the past, you need to find a mechanism to deal with that. Because if you transfer all of that into the new system, it's going to create the same problems again in a very different way. So I would think that where we need to look here is to be a bit more imaginative and creative about where we want the process to go and how it should go there. Because all those people, thousands of people, they want a closure to their particular problem. Finucane murder, Ballymurphy, Kingsmill, whatever else. It's how can you open that reservoir in a way that will bring some sense of closure to the people involved from so many years ago. But if you just take it and try to transfer it into a modern system where you have new judicial people and legal systems being changed and all of that, and it just poisons the entire system again. I think we need to reflect on where we should be and how we might get there in a different way.
Thank you.
And of course, from our history, this has gone back a very, very long time, and it's locked in there. We need to try and explore to find different ways of releasing that anxiety and that emotion and bringing a sense of closure to it.
Deputy Michael McGrath.